Hello, welcome to my YouTube channel, folks. I'm in here. I'm going to talk about a very sensitive subject. It's about how the narcissist uses the children too. They will they mentally abuse the child by automatically having them stuck in the pattern anyway, folks. But the narcissist doesn't care, if they have something to say to you, if their children are in the same room with you and stuff. They just blurt out whenever they decide to say whatever it is they say, and they don't care about the children. But if you've seen that movie enough, you'll see some things that the narcissist said to Jennifer Lopez, about the child, and that right there proved that he really didn't love his own child. And also, when the little girl was, they had Jennifer and that little girl had already went to another state with after they broke up. The little girl wanted to talk to her daddy, on the phone, so Jennifer let her talk to him on the phone. And Jennifer was just trying to tell him on the phone not to be questioning the little girl, and he cussed over the phone and called her a name and didn't realize that the little girl was sitting there listening to what they were saying. And it hurt the little girl to hear her daddy talk to her mom like that. Because the little girl did love her daddy. She just wanted to talk to him. So that's how they use the children, folks. And also, they'll use children as messengers to send messages to you and stuff. They'll go through the child to do that if the narcissist has custody of the children. They'll kind of like what they call triangulate and use the child. And the narcissist doesn't really love the child, folks. They're just using the child as a tool to be like the mediator in between the parents, to send messages that they want to get through. Because the narcissist is going to put children in a situation to where they're not able to be a child. The children hear things that they shouldn't be hearing and things like that, folks. And that's how children wind up being emotionally abused by the narcissist. And the narcissist really is not capable of loving their own child, folks. And it's because they don't have empathy or love for anybody or anything. And, that's just how they are, folks. They mistreat children, pets, and the elderly. And they do it because they're evil and they don't care, folks. They don't care what they put their own children through. They only know, the narcissist only knows what they want, so they use the children. Just like my ex used my children and brainwashed them and stuff and took their mother away from them, by telling the children that I was supposed to be this bad person, that I did this and I did that, so pretty much I was painted to be a monster to the kids. And the kids are already past grown now, folks. My oldest boy will be almost 50 years old. And because of all the stuff that my ex had told the kids, they are now confused. They don't know what to think, because there was a few times that my oldest boy wanted to come down and check for himself if it was true what his daddy had been brainwashing him about. Uh, he would always decide that he didn't want to because of all the stuff that he's been told. But I think that if he would have actually carried suit with it and come down and got to know me for who I really am, I think he would realize that his dad is the monster and not me. You know, I was the loving parent, but I was painted to be a bad person. And that's what they do, folks. That's how they use their children. And they don't really care what it does to the child, you know, because the child is really, to the narcissist, they're a hindrance, you know, because the narcissist wants all the attention and things like that. And after you have the child, that takes your attention off the narcissist, and they really don't like that. So that's the reason, that's part of the reason that they don't love their child. And another thing, they don't have empathy or love anyway, folks. And that's about the best I can explain it to you. They would, if they had a chance, they would probably physically abuse the child. You know, it would just depend on whether or not what situation it was or whatever, folks. But most of the time, it's just mental abuse with the child because they're sitting and watching the other parent being abused, and that bothers the children, you know, even though that they may not talk about it or whatever to you, but they're hearing this stuff and it's scaring them and putting them in a bad situation too. So they don't have any other choice, folks. They're stuck in that relationship, you know, because they're minors and they depend on us to take care of them. But it's the truth, folks. You know, this is how the narcissist looks at it. And if you notice, if you're in the relationship with the narcissist, he doesn't really do anything for his children, like take them to ball games and do fun things with them and spend quality time with them, like taking them to parks and things like that, folks, because the narcissist is always focusing on how he's going to do the next pattern that he's got, you know. So he spends most of his time on supply and the pattern. So he don't really have time for the children. He usually has the children and he depends on the loving parent to do all the work, like I did all that time. But I love my kids to no end. I don't care what he's told the kids or whatever, you know, and I never did force my children to make any decisions. I always, even when they were little kids, I always let them have a mind of their own and, you know, do whatever made them happy, and I never bothered them, folks. But I did decide one time that I was going to go down and see him, and I had the cops to make him let me see him for a few minutes. I wasn't going to be there very long. I was just going to stop by because I'd been down that direction, you know, and I didn't drive or anything like that, so I had to depend on somebody to take me down there. So I just decided that I was going to stop by and say hey to my children and see how they were doing. And they seemed to be doing pretty good, you know, at that time. But of course, I wasn't around all the time, so I didn't see all the things that went on behind closed doors or anything like that, because I figure that my ex was probably seeing that new supply that he married for a long time before we got divorced. And but I imagine that she's probably tired of him by now and already realizes that he has a mental issue, folks, a narcissistic pattern thing. Because, like I said, the new supply, that when his mask slips, the new supply gets a big surprise. And also, I think she was a flying monkey when he met her. And you know what a flying monkey is? That's somebody that goes on the narcissist side, and the narcissist spreads smear campaigns and tries to make you look bad. Well, that never did bother me, folks, because God knows how I am, and I know how I am, and I know how much love and empathy that I have, and that's something that he doesn't have, folks. And that's something that he can't take away from me, and that's what makes me feel good about it. You know, but yeah, children suffer trauma bond themselves as children, folks. That's why when they come up out of that narcissistic relationship, they don't understand why they feel the way they feel. And it's because the children have been through so many mental changes with the narcissist that they don't know anything about a normal atmosphere, because that's what they grew up in. Just like my children, they don't know no different, folks, because the narcissist was the only one they knew. Well, thank you for joining my YouTube channel, folks. You have a good day and a blessed day, too. You got this, folks. You're awesome. Bye-bye.